You don't have any Stephen King?
You've got the shinin'.
You mean shiny.
Shh. Wanna get sued?
It's just your fate. You're that geeky Stephen King kid. There's one of you in every school.
Okay, that's him, that's Cujo, that's Cujo.
I was thinking along the lines of no TV and no beer make Homer something.
Oh, crazy.
Don't mind if I do!
Hello and welcome to Tower Junkies, presented by ObsessiveViewer.com. Tower Junkies is a podcast celebrating the work of Stephen King, celebrating the work of that birthday boy Stephen King, hosted by two lifelong constant readers. We do non-spoiler and spoiler reviews of King's published work and take a critical look at his film and television adaptations and projects as well. We also discuss the latest King news and check in with each other on our ongoing King obsessions. It's the podcast where all things serve the King. You can find more of our work at towerjunkiespod.com. You can also like the Facebook page at facebook.com/towerjunkiespod and follow us on Twitter and every other level of social media at Tower Junkies Pod. And if you'd like to support what we do here, you can become a patron at patreon.com/obsessiveviewer for a ridiculous amount of bonus content spread across all of obsessiveviewer.com's various podcasts. Currently, right now at the $2 level, I am doing... By the time you're listening to this, I'm doing episode recaps and reviews and reactions to Apple TV Plus's Foundation series based on the Isaac Asimov science fiction novels, and also episode reviews of Chapelwaite based on Stephen King's short story Jerusalem's Lot on Epics starring Adrian Brody. So check that out at the $2 level. All other levels have a bunch of other stuff too. Again, that's patreon.com/obsessiveviewer. Okay. So, I'm one of your hosts, Matt Hurt, and joining me, as usual, is that old lunkhead, Tiny. Tiny, I'm going to ask you how you're doing, but first, I have to know, where's my cake?
I love cake.
I do, my God, me too.
Right.
Let's just go into Patreon. What kind of cake do you like?
The better question is, what kind of cake don't I like?
Oh, okay.
Let's not.
What kind of cake don't you like?
Did I open a can of worms here?
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah,
worms.
Cake with a can of worms would be horrible. I agree with you there. Okay. So, how are you doing tonight, Tiny?
I'm good. I'm sleepy, but
Nice. Are you awake?
I'm awake.
Okay, good.
I'm awake.
Because we talked off mic. You did not sleep that much. You're a sleepy Tiny.
Yeah. Sleepy Tiny.
Sleepy Tiny. I know exactly what you're going through.
Yeah.
Sometimes pizza will get like the yawns and the big stretches and stuff, and I'll just be like, she a sleepy kitty.
Sleepy kitty.
Sleepy kitty.
Mm-hmm.
So today on the podcast, we're beginning our... I'm doing well, by the way.
Damn it. Sorry.
No, you're fine. We're beginning our series of episodes covering all, or at least most, things Creepshow. In this first installment of our 6-ish episode series, we're covering the original 1982 Creepshow, directed by George A. Romero and written by Stephen King, who, as I alluded to earlier in this recording, today is Stevie's big 74th birthday at the time of recording.
74.
Yep, my old football number.
Yeah, that's right.
So
that's the Hurt family football number.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. All two of us. And yeah, I mean, if I meet Stephen King in the next 365 days, I've got the perfect icebreaker.
Perfect opener. Yeah.
Hey, you've been alive as many times as the number on my football jersey that one year I played football.
Well, in 4 years for your brother.
Oh, yeah, well, also, I think my brother play football. Like, there's an asterisk there, too. So
He attended football?
yeah, he attended football. He got perfect attendance.
Jeez. That's mean.
Nah, it's fine. For more football talk, check out Christine by Stephen King.
Nice.
Okay, now we're back on track. So we are talking about Creepshow, the 1982 movie, and I have to keep an eye on pizza. I should have never gotten a cat.
She's mischievous.
She is. I shouldn't have said that.
You shouldn't have.
I really should have said I really shouldn't have gotten a cat. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding, pizza. Please don't eat me. So we're going to go through news and check-ins before we get into the review. Are you game for that, Tiny?
Yes, sir.
All right. Do you have any check-ins?
No.
Okay, I figured as much. Yeah.
Right.
You did listen to something Stephen King related.
Listen to something Stephen King related.
That involved voices.
Yes.
That you hear frequently and are hearing now.
Yes, I listened to your episode.
Yes.
Where you were interviewed on the Year of Underrated Stephen King podcast.
Yes.
By Kim C.
Yes.
That was a great interview.
Oh, thank you.
She had some great questions, and you were fine, but
that's okay.
No, my favorite answer you had where she asked about what your favorite King villain was, and you said Time.
Yes.
From 11/22/63. I thought that was very creative.
Oh, yes. Thank you. Yeah.
That was, great answer.
Oh, yeah. Well, you know, it's all, right. I can't take full credit. King is the one that wrote it. So he gets some credit there.
I was getting it because most people are like, Pennywise is scary.
Right.
And that's fine because he is very scary. But you went with like a non-traditional answer. I like it. So.
I agree. Yeah. I mean, I agree that it was great. Yeah. Okay.
You're like, I'm pretty awesome.
Yeah. I'm distracted because I was just trying to get pizza away from the table.
Yeah.
Maybe I can get like dividers up or something.
Oh yeah.
Or
like a COVID divider.
Yeah.
Like they have the grocery store and stuff.
Yes. I'll just go to the grocery store and steal one. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's Tiny's check-in. Thank you for the compliment on that. But I mean, an interviewee is only as good as the interviewer. Yeah. So yeah, I do encourage everyone to listen to that episode and listen to our episode with Kim C. Okay. So with check-ins, I don't really have any check-ins, Tiny.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Except that I'm still plugging away at Under the Dome.
Okay.
And it's super fun and I love it and I'm excited and I'm glad to just be listening to it. And then, that's all the check-ins I have. So I'll go ahead and hit you with some news. Are you ready, Tiny?
Do it, bro.
Okay. So first up is that King was speaking at a virtual event via Zoom or over the internet or whatever called Bloody Scotland. I don't know much about it. It might have been something that he was doing with Linwood Barclay, the writer, but that might have been a different thing. But anyway, the important thing to note is that he held up a couple of pages from the book that he's currently working on, and he unveiled that it is a Holly Gibney book and that it takes place in 2021 and that he wanted to use the coronavirus pandemic, if you needed specificity for that.
Which pandemic was that?
He wanted to use that as a major thing in the book. So that's what he's currently working on. Also, judging from a tweet that he had that I don't remember if I said on the podcast or not. No, actually, I said it on Patreon on a special thing for January. But he also said in a tweet that he used it. Wow. Which one of us barely got sleep, Tiny?
Right.
Jesus.
Bigly.
Yeah, Bigly. God. But I believe that he said in a tweet that he used the word, I think, tableau.
Okay.
In his writing, his daily writing. So look for that word in an upcoming Stephen King book.
Okay.
Yeah. So what do you think about this news? Tableau.
I wonder what kind of tableau, like a Samsung or like an iPad or like a Fire.
That's a good one.
Oh my God, that was not funny.
No, that was good. That was
laugh
good.
At that. I don't honestly. I'm not sure what tableau means.
Oh, I think that it's an old wooden ship built in Civil War times.
Nice.
Man, that reference is old at this point.
That is a pole.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, I'm just going to kind of speak about that a little bit and just see what, because that's a good reference to
dictionary.com.
to something. But yeah, I don't know. But anyway, so, your question was what's a tableau? I think, and don't quote me, but I think it's a graphic description or representation.
Okay.
Yeah.
A graphic description or representation. Okay.
Yeah. Or, I also, my understanding is that it's also a striking or artistic grouping.
Okay.
So, yeah. Do you want some synonyms or antonyms?
Gotcha.
Or do you want to hear the pronunciation?
Well, it just feels, him saying it's a tableau feels
Oh, he said that he used the word tableau in his writing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
I'm sorry.
Gotcha. Okay, I misunderstood.
No. Yeah,
Okay.
he just used the word.
Okay.
Like someone tweeted something, like another writer tweeted something like, "Oh, I got to use this word in my writing today," and then Stephen King replied to that tweet.
Gotcha.
And since I'm a creepy stalker, I saw the tweet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, what do you think of Holly Gibney and the actual news of it?
That's a fun word. I've obviously never used it. I guess I'm not overly excited about a Holly Gibney story, just because I feel like she was obviously a great character for the Bill Hodges trilogy, and like I enjoyed her and everything, but I don't necessarily want like a whole bunch more stories because I haven't even read If It Bleeds yet.
Right. Me neither.
So, which I understand she's in that. But I feel like, I don't know, is there are fans desiring more Holly Gibney stories? I don't know.
I think so.
Really?
I think
Okay.
that there's a decent amount of support for Holly Gibney as a character.
Okay.
I'm kind of, I wouldn't say that I'm indifferent to her. I would say that I'm interested in her, but like you, I don't know if I want, like King at one point said that he's going to be writing a lot of Holly Gibney stories. And when that news hit, when he said the news, I was like, oh, okay, but I mean, don't do too many.
It's
Steve.
interesting because this will be like her 6th book.
Oh, geez, yeah.
Yeah. Because the 3 Bill Hodges books. And
The
then
Outsider.
The Outsider and If It Bleeds.
If It Bleeds, which technically, if It Bleeds was a novella in it.
Is that a collection of short stories?
Oh, yeah, you didn't know that?
I couldn't remember. I didn't realize that.
If It Bleeds is a collection of 4 novellas.
Okay.
Much like Different Seasons or 4 Past Midnight.
Okay.
You remember how I had that whole long email and notes and everything about how, like, this year we'll do Different Seasons and have 4 episodes, and then next year we'll do 4 Past Midnight and have 4 episodes.
Okay.
So If It Bleeds will be in like 2025.
Gotcha. Okay.
Or if you subscribe on Patreon, it might be in December of 2022 at the $2 level.
Oh, shit.
Yes. Dear God, I hope I can pull that off. Basically, guys, starting January 2020, I'm going to do a weekly Patreon thing where I talk about all of Stephen King's short fiction collections, starting with Night Shift and ending with If It Bleeds in December. That's at the $2 level. So 52 episodes of me talking about Stephen King short stories for $2 per month. That is $24 for what will be 52 episodes. Yeah, so
it's a heck of a deal.
You say it's a heck of a deal. I say that I clearly know what I'm worth.
Oh my God.
But yeah, patreon.com/obsessiveviewer. But yeah, in any case, I'm curious what form this story with Holly Gibney is going to take, because I mean, I kind of feel like it's unique because, like I said, I'm not really like that invested in Holly Gibney as a character. I enjoy her, and I have enjoyed her more and more each time she's been in a King story.
Yeah.
With the caveat that I haven't read If It Bleeds. But I also, I don't know where I was going with that. But I think the more interesting thing that I find with Holly Gibney as a character in multiple King stories is that, on one hand, just by the nature of King's writing and his work, and also on the other hand, just the nature of the character, there's a malleability to her that she can be put into different, like The Outsider had very strong supernatural stuff.
Right.
And Mr. Mercedes was pretty straightforward as a detective thriller kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to think of the different applications in King's different levels of storytelling that Holly Gibney could either fit well into or be thrust into.
Right. That's true, because she's kind of like almost like autistic or like Asperger's.
I think that it's pretty. I don't know if it's technically established that she's on the spectrum or anything, but she definitely has some
right.
some kind of condition, I guess?
Social
or
condition.
Social, yeah. I don't know.
But to your point, that makes her a very fluid character. She can, everything's weird to her.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's not weird for her to be in a mystery or a horror or a thriller, like, because she's a fish out of water in any story.
Right. Oh, that's a good point. Yeah.
Right.
So we'll look forward to that. I don't know if that will be one of his 2021 books or 2022 books or 2023 or what have you. But,
right.
But yeah, so that's that news. And then I have one other piece of news that I'm excited about. There was an article on slashfilm.com where they interviewed the showrunners for Chapelwaite, which is on Epix, and I'm doing reviews on Patreon. But they interviewed the showrunners. I didn't read it because I'm still watching the show and everything. But I did catch this, or I saw someone tweet about this this kind of interesting little tidbit. They asked the showrunners, if you could adapt any other Stephen King work, what would it be? And there's two speakers here. Jason says, well, the problem is my favorite Stephen King is The Shining of all time. And I think that that was done pretty well, so I wouldn't want to touch that with a 10-foot pole. But yeah, that's my favorite. And then the other showrunner, Peter, said, yeah, there's a short story I've always liked called Sometimes They Come Back. And then he said, I think that's one of his best, really good stories. I know it's been adapted, but... So, Tiny, you haven't read Sometimes They Come Back, have you?
I haven't, no.
Have you seen the movie?
No.
Okay. I will say that I really, really like that short story.
Okay.
And the idea of someone adapting it again is something that makes me very, very interested. Because it's such a cool story. It's such an interesting story. It's a story about a teacher who has some trauma in his past and involving some high school bullies when he was a kid.
Yeah.
And the high school bullies start showing up in his class as students, but like they're still that age when they were that young, and they have the same like hairstyles and everything. And they start taunting him. It's so interesting.
Wow, that sounds awesome.
Yeah, it's a really cool story.
Yeah.
And Tim Matheson starred in the movie.
Sweet.
Yeah. Okay, so that's pretty much all of the news that I have. Are you ever going to check out Chapelwaite?
I don't know yet. I'm not sure.
Okay. It's pretty good so far.
Is it?
Yeah, I've watched 3 episodes, I think.
It's on Epix?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Which you can get through Amazon Prime.
Okay. Is that owned by HBO?
I don't think so.
I don't know why I thought that.
Maybe, if it's owned by anyone, maybe Showtime.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, I do believe I gave you my Amazon Prime login.
Yeah.
So you can watch it there.
Okay.
Yeah, but just you, Tiny. No listeners.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So yeah, so that's all the news and check-ins we have.
Okay.
Tiny, do you want to get into the movie review? I just realized I did not prep like a
no notes or anything?
trailer or anything to play for spoilers, but yeah, we'll wing it there.
Cool.
Yeah. Are you ready to get into our review of 1982's Creepshow?
I am.
All right, great. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a non-spoiler review and then a spoiler review. I think we're going to go kind of segment by segment, but we'll do non-spoilers, and then after we go through each section or each segment, we'll go into spoilers. Okay. So, yes. According to IMDb, Creepshow is an anthology which tells 5 terrifying tales inspired by the EC horror comic books of the 1950s. This movie was released on November 10th, 1982, and it was directed by George A. Romero, famous for his Living Dead series of movies, and, kind of reinventing the horror genre and inventing the zombie horror genre. Just so much respect.
Yeah.
And it was written by Stephen King, who is 74 today. I don't know why I keep going back to that because people are listening to it in the future.
Yeah.
So before we start, Tiny, what's your history with this movie?
I've seen it. I saw it probably when I was like a teenager. I think that's the only time I've ever watched it.
Okay.
I don't remember exactly how old I was, but I kind of liked it back then. I think pretentious teenager Tiny was like, well, it's super campy, so it's pretty dumb. But like underneath, I was like, I had a pretty good time with it actually.
Sure.
So I guess I haven't really talked about it much, but yeah, I saw it years ago and just hadn't really revisited it in a long time.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. What's interesting is that I never saw this movie until a year or two ago. And it's something that I wasn't sure what to expect, and what I got was pretty satisfying. But it's interesting because I'm surprised that I never gave it a shot before, like a couple of years ago or a year ago.
Right.
Especially like when you and I worked together and worked nights, like this seemed like the kind of thing that I would download or we would bring to the control room as security guards.
Or a Shocktober at some point.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. So yeah, but yeah, I have filled that spot. That what is the word I'm looking for? That blank spot in my viewing now. So, okay. So yeah, like I said, we're going to go into a non-spoiler discussion. We're going to go segment by segment. There are 5 segments in this anthology film, and the first one is Father's Day. How did you feel about Father's Day, Tiny? And by the way, it was an original story written by King for the film specifically, so it's not based on any pre-existing conditions, pre-existing stories or anything.
Right.
So this just to kind of give a brief premise. This is the story of a woman who she kind of is from money, and her father is very abusive, and she murders him and is haunted by him.
Yep.
So Tiny, how did you feel about this segment of Creepshow in non-spoilers?
You'll hear me say the word fun quite a bit.
Nice.
Because I think that's really the tone they were going for with this. Like it's very much, they're not like going for jump scares or anything like that with this kind of story. I think they're like trying to tap into like fun Halloween horror.
Yeah.
Over the topness, campiness. I'm not sure if that's what they were going for, or maybe it was a happy accident, or maybe, here in 2021, it feels different than it did in the 80s when it came out. I don't really know, but
right.
Yeah, I just had such a fun time with all the segments in the whole movie.
Nice.
And starting with this, yeah, I mean, like there's like such a white people dancing scene.
Oh my God, I was going to bring that up.
I mean, it is like, it's funny. It's like hilarious.
What's hilarious to me about that is that it feels like it does feel to me like it's intentionally goofy and over the top and silly.
Right.
Which is great. It's what brings that scene and the movie as a whole, all like most of its charm. But also I can't help but think that Ed Harris is committing so hard to that.
So
like
hard.
it looks so intense to him. And I'm just like, dude, you're dancing with no rhythm.
I can't believe it's not a meme.
Yeah. Oh, me too.
Like a GIF somewhere that people share.
Oh yeah.
Like fucking white people or something like that.
Right.
Yeah, but it's the whole thing kind of has that tone, and even the villain when they're showing like flashbacks, he's like way over the top.
Yes.
Which you kind of had to kind of joke early on.
Where's my cake?
Like he just does not stop saying that.
Right.
Like when he's alive and they're showing the flashback, it's like, dude, chill.
Yeah. Your cake is coming, sir.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's funny, it just adds a tone to the story. And also it's just a cool story. Like I think if it was told like going for genuine scares and stuff, I'm not sure if it would work as well. Or be memorable, I guess. I think Stephen King he writes novels and novellas and short stories. So his strength is putting a story in someone's mind, and they bring it to life with the pictures in their mind, right?
Yeah.
So I think I would love to see him write this as a straight horror story, just 100 pages or whatever.
Yeah.
I think it would be awesome.
Oh yeah.
And actually, pretty much all of these would be super awesome in that regard. But it's just it's funny seeing them in the context they're in with this campiness and stuff. It gives them a completely different feel.
Oh, absolutely. That tone. I think when I first saw this movie, I did not expect it to be that kind of that brand of horror comedy.
Right.
I honestly thought that it was going to be a kind of straightforward horror movie that was probably dated by that time because it was 82.
Mm-hmm.
But what I was so enamored with and surprised by was that it's this fun, energetic kind of pulp comic book horror anthology, which is so refreshing and so fun. And it's like clearly, obviously, like I said, it's inspired by the EC horror comics, like Tales from the Crypt.
Mm-hmm.
And like obviously has that vibe through and through.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just it is such a treat. It's so fun.
It is.
Yeah. But yeah, and I liked Father's Day a lot. Like it was a good one to start it out on, and the gruesomeness of it is also really fun. Like the way that the monster of it is depicted is just, it's very much like a just terrifying, like, oh, I'm coming after you kind of thing. And it's it is all like makeup effects and prosthetics and everything and practical effects. It just looks like they intentionally went overboard with all of the makeup and the effects and everything.
Yeah.
And it plays so wonderfully because of that.
Right.
Yeah.
Did I think I read this, but did Tom Savini do the makeup?
I think so.
Because he's in the movie.
He's in the second movie. Is he in the first one too?
Is he in the second one? I thought he was. I think he's in the first one. He's the garbage man at the end.
Oh, that's right. Yes, he is. Yes, he is.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I'm sure that he did probably do the makeup effects on it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really effective.
Mm-hmm. Which obviously he's a legend.
Oh yeah.
In the makeup, but he can, I think he was intentionally playing up ridiculousness.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is like campiness, over the top ridiculousness, because obviously the guy can do a straightforward horror or like realistic makeup job on something. I mean, the guy basically invented zombie makeup.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
It's a big deal, which has basically become an art with The Walking Dead and the popularization of zombie stories.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think you're right. I think he just kind of was like, let's just put 10 pounds of makeup on this dude and prosthetics,
throw
and
everything at the wall,
rubber skin and all this crap. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Anything goes, basically.
Yeah. And it is such a delight. It is very effective.
Totally.
Yeah. So anything else on Father's Day? Have you ever gotten a cake for your father for Father's Day?
Probably.
Okay.
I don't know if I remember, but I'm sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This past Father's Day, we went to Los Patios.
Oh, nice.
And we got the fried ice cream.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Nice.
Which is really good.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. He wasn't like demanding it furiously.
Right. Where's my fried ice cream?
Don't they stop me fried ice cream?
Yes.
Yeah.
I really want a horchata now.
You like horchata?
I do. Yeah.
I am not a fan.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Huh.
So,
Well,
one of my jobs, I had a guy I worked with. He was a Mexican gentleman, and he would make his own horchata and bring it in like for pitch-ins and stuff. And I tried it, and I was like, "That's really good," but I don't like it. And I was like, "No offense, but
okay."
Everybody else loved it. Like people would request it. Like they'd be like, "Ray, you don't have a choice. You're bringing in horchata," and he was like, "Yeah, okay." So
Wow.
I don't know. It's just not my thing.
That's really good, but it's fucking disgusting, and you should be ashamed, Ray.
Yeah, it's good. Ugh.
Awesome. Well,
Yeah, anyways.
send them over here.
Sure.
But yeah, so that's Father's Day, and and so do you want to go on to the second segment?
Yes.
Okay, so this one is Man, if we thought that the first segment was silly, then
Right.
holy shit. So, The Lonesome Death of Geordie Verrill. Based on the King short story Weeds, which was first published in Cavalier magazine in May 1976. It's inspired by H.P. Lovecraft's The Color Out of Space, which also, worth noting, inspired elements of the much maligned Tommyknockers novel. Yeah, and it's interesting because this short story, and one of the other segments coming up, that's also based on a short story. Neither one of those have ever been collected anywhere in King's bibliography, which I find really interesting.
Right.
And as a completionist, I find that incredibly frustrating. So this segment stars Stephen King himself as the titular Geordie Verrill, that old lunkhead. And he finds a meteorite that crashes on his farmland, and he has these incredibly silly visions of how he's going to sell it to the Department of Meteors at the university. And then horror elements ensue. Tiny, how did you feel about The Lonesome Death of Geordie Verrill?
This might be my favorite one.
Nice.
Which it's an obvious pick because Stephen King stars in it, but it's not because of that. It's because of those like visions of grandeur like that he has. It makes me think of, or delusions of grandeur, I guess is the term.
Right.
It just makes me think of like the whole "you'll shoot your eye out" thing in A Christmas Story. You know, it's that ridiculous thing where his mom is a jester and the teacher's a witch. You'll shoot your eye out.
Right.
Like, it's just so it's almost like a kid's fever dream.
Yeah.
It's like the Department of Meteors. Like, what the fuck? It's so funny.
So funny.
Yeah, that's so fun. But also what's interesting is this story, I remember it from when I was a teenager, because I think the idea of like a plant-based life form like coming to Earth and just literally taking over everything, like anything it touches, it just spreads. Like, that's actually a really terrifying concept to me.
Oh yeah.
Like aliens scare the shit out of me. So this is a plant alien. It's like M. Night Shyamalan. Like,
Right.
where'd all the plants go?
Guys.
Right.
Say hi to your mother for me.
Nice. But like that's like a really scary concept. Like these plants are just taking over your house. If you touch it, it starts to grow on you, and like that's crazy.
Oh yeah.
And it was touched. It's funny. I recently read a book called A Head Full of Ghosts.
Oh yeah.
Which was written by
Paul Tremblay.
Paul Tremblay,
Yeah.
who's buddies with Stephen King. And there's a character who kind of the main characters are like two young sisters, like 14 and like 9, 8. Those are their ages.
Right.
And like the older one is kind of crazy, and she makes up a story to tell her younger sister.
Oh yeah.
And it's kind of a version of this, except it's fucking scary.
Yeah.
Like the growing things.
Yeah,
And it's like scary as shit in the book, and it's really cool. And I as soon as I was reading that book and she started talking about that, I was like, I wonder if this is inspired, if like Paul Tremblay was inspired by Creepshow in 1982, because I immediately thought of The Lonesome Death of Geordie Verrill. So yeah, that's just a kind of a fun connection to make. I have no idea.
Yeah, I kind of forgot about that in Head Full of Ghosts. And Paul Tremblay, he has a short story collection called Growing Things. And
okay.
I'm curious I don't know if it's just he used that title, or if he has like a standalone like story of that in that. So I don't know, but interesting.
But anyway, so it's kind of a cool juxtaposition with all of the silliness of the character of Geordie Verrill and his delusions of grandeur, juxtaposed with, I mean, a kind of a disturbing ending and everything, and the fact that these plants are literally taking over. It's kind of it's I think it's one of the stories in the collection. It's one of the most genuinely scary underneath all the layer of ridiculousness and campiness and stuff. So, at least in my opinion.
I will say that I agree that it is one of the scariest, but I've got to reserve that last one for scariest.
Sure. Yeah, I agree with
we'll
that.
get to.
Yeah.
For me, I mean, I agree that campiness, that silliness, the over the top acting by King is
Right.
like, I don't know. I feel like I was expecting to cringe really hard.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's a disservice to King, and I apologize,
Right.
Steve, especially on your birthday. but I was really, because he's not a trained actor,
Right.
And granted, it's a genre movie that's has camp baked into it and everything. So there's not a lot of pressure on a performer to really perform it, because people are not necessarily watching it for the performances or to be emotionally connected to it. They just want to have fun and be scared and everything. So I was expecting, having said that, I was expecting King to be kind of a cringy kind of thing, especially with the time period, that being when he's pretty heavily into his drug and alcohol abuse.
Right.
So I was expecting it to be just really cringy and awkward. But I think because he isn't like a trained actor, and because the tone is just so heightened and silly, his performance just worked really, really well for
Yeah,
me.
it did. He went for it. I mean,
He really did.
didn't hold back.
Yeah, and the writing was great too. Like when like those Department of Meteors things, those visions, it's great. And it also has and I don't want to analyze it too much, because I don't think it really needs analyzation or anything, but the idea of him having these delusions of grandeur and these fantasies that he's clearly like a down on his luck farmer guy. He doesn't really have much going for him or anything, so he's inventing these delusions of like speaking to someone who is clearly successful and smart and everything, and being able to get more than he's offered for the meteor and everything. And
He has a leg up on him.
yeah, having
Right.
that kind of point of pride of like, my meteor, my price. And it's like that has its own like little characterization that we could mine for something.
Sure.
But I think overall, just the performance of King in that is just such a delight and so
Yeah.
much fun.
Right. According to the IMDb trivia, I guess George Romero requested that was a note. He wanted him to act.
Nice.
He wanted him to act that way.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I guess that was intentional. He wasn't just like Stephen King was like, well, I'm not a good actor, so I'm just going to go balls to the wall.
Right.
Like it wasn't just some whim he had.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. So
That's awesome.
yeah.
I really need to dig in more into. I don't know how this is going to sound. I really need to dig in more into King and Romero's friendship, because they were pretty close for a long time. For
Yeah.
most of their careers, at least.
Yeah.
So that's something to say on a podcast without any really clear direction from thought. So we both loved The Lonesome Death of Jordy Verrill. Clear, a very clear reference to Castle Rock and Castle County in it, which was a delight.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, do you want to move on to the next segment, Tiny?
Yes.
Okay, so this I'm pretty excited about because I had forgotten about it. The next segment is called Something to Tide You Over. It stars Leslie Nielsen and Ted Danson. It was an original story written by King for the film, and the premise is that this man kind of confronts this other man who is having an affair with the first man's wife, and it is basically your classic revenge story a la King. And what I found really interesting about this was that having just recently reread Night Shift, there's a story in there called The Ledge, which is incredibly similar to this. The Ledge is amazing. It's about a man who wagers to the man who is sleeping with his wife that he will let his wife go to him and let bygones be bygones. They can run off together and everything. The only thing that the man has to do is walk around the ledge of the penthouse apartment that they're in, 40 stories up. The ledge is 4 inches wide, and they have to walk around the entire thing. It's a very fun story.
Wow, that's cool.
It's horrifying too, because fucking heights are terrifying to me.
Yeah.
But anyway, so this story kind of has that same kind of vibe, because he orchestrates a revenge plot. Leslie Nielsen does, against Ted Danson and the wife, who I don't have her name in front of me. But yeah, it's a very gruesome and grisly and kind of claustrophobic kind of revenge tale. How did you feel about Something to Tide You Over, Tiny?
I love how creative it is. Like, that's a disturbing sentence to say, but
right.
How many ways can you think of to kill a person?
Oh, I've got a list.
So does Stephen King, apparently.
Force him to be my podcasting partner for nearly a decade.
Jesus. But, this is clever. It's something I'm sure someone has thought of somewhere along the way, other than Stephen King. But to see it exemplified this way is really chilling. And as a person who's not a big fan of like natural bodies of water anyways, like it just freaks me out. And drowning, I think, would be one of the worst ways to die.
Yes.
Yeah. Even if you can hold your breath for a long, long time. Right. Yeah, I also think it's kind of funny how technology plays a part in the episode. I don't know if there's a commentary there or anything.
Oh, I didn't think about it as a commentary on anything,
or like
That's
a subtext.
Interesting.
I have no idea, but like it's funny how this is the first time since I've watched this, or I guess I noticed when I was watching this segment this time. In the opening, Leslie Nielsen goes to confront Ted Danson, and he's at Ted Danson's apartment or house or whatever, and he's just like looking around, kind of just commenting on his technology.
Oh yeah,
and like he's like looking at his VCR and his old ass tube TV, and he's like, you should really clean these parts out, and you should really make sure you cycle the so and so. You should really take better care of this stuff. And Ted Danson, meanwhile, is like, you son of a bitch, what are you doing here? And and it's just kind of funny that I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's trying to make a commentary that he felt Leslie Nielsen's character felt superior because of the technology.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, because it gave him a leg up,
I honestly took it to mean that the movie was calling attention to it so that it wouldn't be a surprise when the TV popped up on the beach.
Gotcha.
But I mean, that could be something. I mean,
yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. Also prescient because, everyone that allegedly goes to the beach now. We live in Indianapolis. Everyone on the beach now has their own little TV in the form of their phones.
Right.
And tablets.
That's true.
Yeah.
And tableaus.
Yeah, and tableaus. Nice.
Callback.
Nice.
But yeah, it's super fun. I think I haven't said that, I forgot to say this, but as I'm watching these, I like to think about some of the images that would make cool comic book frames.
Oh yeah.
And one of for me, the best one in the movie is Ted Danson buried up to his shoulder, up to his neck, and his hair floating in the water, and he's trying to hold his breath, and there's a fish that swims by.
That was so freaking cool.
So perfect.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I loved this one. Like I said, just when King does like a revenge story, he goes for it. And that's as true in 1982 as it is in, the last time he did a revenge story.
Right.
Right. But it's I just really like the kind of, first of all, I like the cleverness of it, the intricacy of it. Like, it is such an elaborate way to kill somebody.
Yeah.
And I love that it's Leslie Nielsen and Ted Danson.
Right.
I thought that was a nice just casting.
I think at the time Ted Danson wasn't really a name yet.
I don't think so, no.
Pre-Cheers.
Right, because Cheers was mid-'80s, I think, or maybe
85 or something.
I think it was like a year before Cheers.
Was it?
Maybe.
Really?
And it caused a lot of jeers. And maybe he had some fears that his career wouldn't take off.
But Leslie Nielsen was like an established comedic actor.
Oh yeah,
right. You know, it'd be like Will Ferrell showing up in a horror movie. Yeah,
yeah. Well, Leslie Nielsen also started out as a dramatic actor.
Right.
And he also dabbled in sci-fi with Forbidden Planet.
Okay.
By the way, I'm glad that you pulled me out of that that rhyming spiral and everything.
As fast as I could. Yeah.
Yeah, because like it's really nice to have like
Oh God.
to, like with like anthology, I'm just by myself and everything, but it's nice to have a peer here to curb that, to steer me away from that. Okay.
Now let me hear it in a rap battle form.
No, okay, yeah.
Don't. I was joking.
Okay, cool.
I'm not going to give you a beat.
Okay. Anyway. Patreon.com probably. Eventually I'll do something like that. Who the fuck knows?
Surprised you haven't done it already.
No, well, you wait and see.
Don't check your hard drive.
Right. But also, just want to point out the delicious pun of the title, something to tide you over.
Yeah.
I think is nice.
Totally.
So I thought that was a lot of fun. That was a fun thing. And what I like so much about these segments is that they are so cohesive in their tone, because like they do have, like, each one that we've talked about has its own level of horror and campiness and fun energy. And it's such a good balance between those elements and to find that tone. So I really like that.
Yeah.
And then we get the penultimate segment called The Crate,
Yeesh.
which is based on a Stephen King short story titled The Crate, which originally was published in the July 1979 issue of Gallery. And much like Weeds, which was the basis for The Lonesome Death of Jordy Verrill, The Crate has never been collected, and I don't understand why.
Yeah.
Like,
That's such a bummer.
yeah, like one of his collections, I think maybe not just after Sunset, but one or two before that. I think probably Nightmares and Dreamscapes. Like in the author's note or in the forward, he's like, "Oh, hey, here's just basically everything that hasn't been collected yet, plus some new stuff." And then,
Wow.
yeah, and then again, and just after Sunset, he had The Cat from Hell, and that was a story that he wrote in 1977. So I don't know. It's just it's frustrating to me that there are stories that aren't collected,
Right.
of his.
I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, The Crate is an interesting monster story.
Yeah.
There's a monster in a crate. There's a nagging wife and a very angry husband. Also worth mentioning that Fritz Weaver appears in this segment. I just want to mention that because I like Fritz Weaver. He was in several episodes or a few episodes of the original Twilight Zone, including some of my favorites, including Third from the Sun.
Gotcha.
And The Obsolete Man. So, Tiny, what did you think of The Crate?
This is like my second favorite one. I really
Nice.
I like this one just because it's a classic. It's a monster. It's a monster story, monster in a box. Like,
Yeah.
it's like a present you open and you get an awesome story. And there's just so many horror elements to it. I think you have the mystery, like a mystery box in and of itself is a cool story.
Yeah.
You have a crazy ass monster that's killing and eating people.
Right.
It's hiding under the stairs. It's discovered. People keep getting drawn to it, and then you have this whole subplot with a guy trying to kill his wife. Like,
Yeah.
it's just so many fun things coming together.
Packs so many threads into a single segment of an anthology film. It's really it's interesting that they could pull it off.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. I really, really liked the mystery of the box. Like, I really liked that, like that question of it, like when they open it and it's just like, you can see parts of it, like that concealing effect of it is just really effective.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's all conventional animatronic. There's no CGI here or anything.
Right.
Which was, that has a charm in and of itself.
Yeah.
There's a what would the movie Jaws be if it was CGI?
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's funny because it makes it, since it's of such high quality, it creates this timeless effect. Like it doesn't feel dated. It doesn't feel over the top or anything. It just
Right.
feels like a really effective kind of scary imagery.
Yeah. I mean, it's a little silly, of course,
yeah.
because it's campy over the top.
Silliness is baked into it, yeah.
You never see his feet.
Right.
Right. It's just it's a little silly, but it's effective.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I liked it too. I liked it a lot. I liked the kind of dramatic elements with the couple and everything that kind of just the seething hatred.
Yeah.
Like his hatred toward her and her just outward hatred is just really cool.
Yeah, like the boiling over
Yes.
of his emotion, his emotions.
Right.
His hatred, yeah, the boiling over of that is so fun.
Yeah.
And having it come from Hal Holbrook,
Yes.
which I just see as like, oh, sweet old Hal Holbrook,
Right.
because he's been old since 1982.
Right.
It's crazy because he just
Yeah.
passed away a couple years ago. I want
That's
to
right.
say,
Yeah.
he was like 90 or something. But anyways, and the I can't remember the actor's name who plays his wife, but like I wanted to kill her. Jesus, she again committed to that. Adrienne Barbeau.
Yeah. Yes.
She was great, and just I love just her mocking of him was perfect.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Just so much to get under your skin.
Yes.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just like, of all the ways this guy could dispose of his wife, and he's been, wanting to kill her. He's like, he sees this horrifying situation. He's like, well, you know what? I'm going to use this to finally get rid of my wife.
Right.
It's just crazy that he would even have that, his gears would be turning that way.
Right.
It's funny.
So good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know if we really have anything else to say about the crate.
Yeah.
It's certainly great. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. Okay, so shall we go on to the final segment
Yes,
of
sir.
this movie? All right. So, the final segment of Creepshow 1982 is just they're creeping up on you. It's an original story by King that was written for the film. It is about a man kind of holed up in his own paranoid cleanliness in a penthouse apartment, I believe, that is infested with cockroaches. The actor is Upson Pratt, played by E.G. Marshall. And it's interesting that this story is 2 out of 5 segments are basically like bottle segments or just single actor segments.
Right.
So that's pretty interesting.
Totally.
E.G. Marshall, by the way, you may know from 12 Angry Men and National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
As well as a bunch of stuff. Yeah. So Tiny. Oh, he was also. That's where I know the name. He was in the Tommyknockers miniseries.
Oh, I don't remember him in
Yeah,
that.
he played Ev Hillman.
He may not remember himself in that.
Right. Well, he definitely doesn't because he died in 1998.
Jesus.
But yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
So yeah, Tiny, what did you think of their creeping all over you?
Yeah, so this is the one I didn't really remember it from the first time I watched it. So the second time it was a bit of a surprise. It felt really fresh. But I'm wondering again if there was a little technology commentary there or a little bit of predicting the future kind of thing where, technology allows this guy to be so isolated from everyone to the point where he has no in-person interactions with anyone. Even the maintenance guy who comes to the door, he never opens the door and they just kind of yell at each other through the door.
Right.
And then he's, he pisses someone off so much that they're calling him and leaving, berating. He's being berated by this woman. And he's so isolated from that. And he's so, I guess he's so insulated as well.
Yeah.
That he literally starts to smile. Obviously he's an evil son of a bitch.
Right.
But, I feel like the fact that if she was standing in front of him, yelling at him, doing that, I feel like he can't him having that reaction would be so unlikely and out of character. But
totally.
because it's just someone barking at him through a phone, he just thinks it's funny.
Yeah.
And I don't know if there was a subtext or a commentary on technology and isolation and all that. I don't know, but that's something that I kind of picked up on.
Yeah, and it's funny because you can just retroactively place onto it the disconnected nature that we all feel with technology and everything.
Right.
By the way, thank you for downloading this on your smartphone and listening to it while not interacting with other people.
Right. Probably with earbuds in where you can't even hear other people around you.
Oh yeah. But yeah. So I found that to be really interesting, and it's so funny because you went more into the subtext of everything than I even thought to.
Yeah.
But so kudos to you. I was just like, this is fun, and I hate bugs.
Yeah.
But yeah, that sense of isolation it's interesting because that segment really takes you on a ride. Because it begins with this isolated man that admittedly, like, my thought is not pretty nice. Just to be closed off from the world and everything. I wouldn't mind that, I don't think. Says the man who lives alone in an apartment. But yeah, and then it just, with the introduction of the bugs and how many there are and the escalation of that, it is so creepy and unsettling.
Yes.
And it just gets so under your skin, at least for me. And like, I hate bugs.
Yeah.
I hate cockroaches. I can't. I hate.
Yep.
And just to see the escalation of that in the segment is so creepy. And we won't give away the kind of payoff of that, but it leads to a very, very evocative and visceral payoff.
Right.
That's just so gross and
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I read in the trivia that I think George Romero said that this was the most expensive part of the whole movie.
Oh, I bet.
Because they used real cockroaches.
Jesus.
And he said,
I hate that now.
They cost 50 cents a piece.
Oh my God.
And they used 250,000 of them. So they spent over $100,000 just on cockroaches.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I was like, holy shit, I wonder if that's true. Like,
yeah.
That's bananas.
Oh.
Yeah.
That makes it so much worse to me. Like, I mean, not that I didn't expect it to be real, because I don't know how else they could have done it.
Yeah.
But just the idea. Ugh.
Right.
I really hope E.G. Marshall got a good payday out of that.
For real. I also think there's some to kind of go back to the idea of picking frames for a comic book. I feel like there's a ton in this segment because I think this has some of the best camera work.
Yeah.
Because they're following scurrying little bugs, and that's challenging camera work. But it also has this very clean white backdrop.
I was going to mention that
all the time, so it feels like the outline frames of a comic frame.
Oh wow!
To me, like, I thought this is like one of the best examples of it.
Damn, I didn't even think of that. I thought of it just because of the contrast with the black cockroaches. Like, that just made, and the fact that it's all like it's not like a carpeted room. It's all just hard floors.
Right.
And so the scurrying and the sounds and everything is more
amplified.
effective.
Yeah. Right.
But man, I did not think about that as the edges of comic book frames.
There's so many cool visuals too. Like, I love the part where a few times they show him standing in the window. Yeah. And they're showing like they're looking in through the window. So you can see the exterior of the building is like an older, like, maybe like an Art Deco Gothic style stone building that probably has tons of character and is really beautiful.
Right.
And this guy just made this completely sterile, updated, like a horrible looking, like no style to this apartment at all. And what's probably a really beautiful, like, downtown Manhattan building.
Right.
And I love that kind of, again, it's sort of like an opposite of a comic frame. You have the pure whiteness in the middle, and then you have this beautiful earthy stone around the outside of the frame of the building. It's just the visuals kind of jumped out at me. It's not something that I would expect to latch onto as a viewer watching a movie like this that's so campy and over the top. But I don't know if it was intentional, but I feel like this is the least amount of camp in this in this segment. But they, again, I think they just really went for it visually.
Yeah.
In this segment. Yeah.
I definitely agree. And that's it. Yeah, and that kind of sterility to it, the way that his space is just so sterile, and in contrast to, like you said, the kind of beautiful imagery of the exterior and the other like limited sets that we see. It just speaks to just how disconnected he is from the world,
right?
And that's really, really interesting. For as gross and yucky as it is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it would be awesome to have a little, I don't even know what you call it, like a little vacuum tube on your desk.
Oh,
where
yeah.
you could just throw, like it's like your trash can. Just throw stuff in there. That'd be so fucking cool.
Yep.
I have no idea if anything like that even exists.
Right.
I'm sure it'd have to be custom made, but yeah, that would be cool. It's like something out of a sci-fi movie.
Yeah, it kind of reminded me a little bit of, oh God, well, I don't remember what they're called, but like in banks, the
like
pneumatic tubes.
Pneumatic tube. Yeah, totally.
Also, the kind of germophobia, as the kids say, hits a little different in the COVID era. Yeah,
nice.
Definitely wasn't vibing with this.
Yeah, it do be hitting different though.
Yeah, it does. It do.
It do.
Yep.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So that is, they're creeping up on you, or they're creeping on you.
They're creeping up on you.
They're creeping up on you.
Yeah.
So I do want to talk briefly about the frame story. The kid with the comic and then the trash men. How'd you feel about the segment?
Again, just really fun. It's perfect contextualization, I think, of setting the tone. It was so fun. I loved the ridiculous dad.
Yeah,
damn kids on your trashy comic books kind of thing. Like, who's actually like that?
Yeah.
You know, it's so ridiculous.
Very over the top.
Right. And then the like quiet, regarded wife, housewife kind of. She's like in the kitchen the whole time, and she's like, "Oh, leave Billy alone. He's up there reading his books or whatever."
Right.
Just so archetypical, I guess. And also just how well, I may have to say that for spoilers, but the progression that the character of Billy takes by the end, what he's doing, is just fun. Played by Joe Hill.
Yeah, I was so excited because I wasn't sure if you were going to catch that.
Yeah, I obviously didn't recognize him, but
yeah. I just think that's such a cool. That's so cool.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, the dad is played by Tom Atkins, who you may know from several things, but also from Halloween 3, Season of the Witch.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
No, I don't know him from that. Don't start me thinking about that fucking movie.
Yeah. Did you ever see that?
Oh, God, yes.
Okay.
We talked about it on the podcast.
We did, right. Yes.
That was early Obsessive Viewer. That was maybe like the second year.
Yeah.
For Shocktober 1 year. Because I think that was... No, I don't know if that was the year where I did 360 movies.
I don't... Maybe I don't.
I can't remember,
so.
but
Yeah,
I had a big Shocktober that year because I watched every Halloween movie that year.
Yeah.
So I went through the whole collection.
Yeah.
And I forced myself to watch that one.
Yeah.
Ugh.
It's rough. It's rough.
It's the only time I've ever seen it. Probably the only time I'll ever see it.
Yeah. Yeah. I an anecdote that I have is I watched it because I bought the Blu-ray set, and I watched it, and I had been dating someone, and I received a text message from her saying, "Hey, do you want to meet tomorrow here so that we can talk?" And I'm like, "Oh, okay, well, this is going to end tomorrow." And like, I was kind of bummed about it. And like, I was trying to I was in my early or mid to late 20s at that point. And so like, I'm sitting there and I'm like reading over the text and everything, just like, preparing myself, while I had the Blu-ray for Halloween 3 in my like on my TV, and it was playing the theme, that annoying theme music on a loop, because it was just the Blu-ray menu. God. So like, I'm sitting there preparing to watch this horrible movie, having this earworm of an annoying song, and thinking about how like, oh, I'm gonna get dumped tomorrow. And like, yeah, so that was just an interesting confluence of events.
Yeah. I just think about like the producer who recorded that audio. Right. I assume he killed himself.
Right.
It's so fucking awful.
Yeah. Have a happy Halloween.
Don't, please.
Halloween,
Oh my
Halloween.
God.
Have a happy 3 more days till Halloween.
Oh my
Halloween.
God.
Halloween. I think we should talk. Halloween. Halloween. I don't want to be in a relationship. Halloween. Halloween.
Oh my God. Oh, fuck. It's not you, it's me. Halloween. Halloween.
Let's still be friends. Halloween. Halloween. Okay. So
That's ridiculous. Oh, fuck.
so dumb.
Malignant.
Malignant. We've got, okay. So yeah, I think that's all that we have to say about non-spoilers for Creepshow. Do you want to go into spoilers?
Yeah.
Just kind of briefly?
Yeah, just quickly.
Yeah, because I don't really have much to talk about in spoilers, but I'm going to play a little bit of music here, and then when we come back, we're going to spoil the heck out of Creepshow. And spoilers on for Creepshow. Tiny, what do you want to spoil?
Well, in the first segment, I don't know if we mentioned that I love the transitions where they transition from like live action to the comic stuff.
Oh yeah,
I think that's just fun as hell, and like I wish more movies did that.
Yeah, like that when they show the father like berating the daughter, and it's like it zooms out and he's in a comic book frame, but it's like the live action in the frame,
Right.
But it's animated comic book frame like that. I loved that.
Totally.
I thought that was so cool.
Yeah. I love how they stuck to that. But
Yeah.
the beginning and the beginning and ending of each story, they fade into live action and then fade out.
Yeah.
And I really love that. But my favorite one is the first one is Father's Day, the fade out, the ending where the reanimated father has her head on the cake.
Yes.
And it's just so over the fucking top because he opens the door. He's like, does he say Happy Father's Day?
Yeah.
And it's just fucking ridiculous, but I love it.
I had forgotten about that ending.
Yeah.
And then I saw it and I was just like, that is just delightful.
Again, it's just a perfect tone.
Yes.
Like no one could be, after watching that, no one could be confused that this is like a straightforward horror movie.
Oh, absolutely.
Like I fucking love that.
It is a fun horror movie.
Yeah,
And like,
totally.
I adore it for that. I really do.
Me too. I loved it.
Yeah.
Love it.
It's so great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really have any spoiler thoughts, just to agree with you on that.
Yeah. I don't know what else there is to spoil. But,
Yeah, I don't know either. And I feel like there's nothing really to spoil about Geordie Verrill.
Yeah, except with the Geordie Verrill, I do. The ending is kind of a not fun, but a very sort of, to me, I guess it's kind of a serious moment at the end where he puts a fucking shotgun in his mouth and kills himself.
That's right. Yeah.
Like it's disturbing, but I love it. Like it's
a total downer.
right, because the whole segment is just over the top.
Oh yeah.
Like the guy is a dead man walking and he knows it, but he's ridiculous, seeing visions of his dad, and he's watching wrestling, and he's turning into a fucking plant.
Yeah.
And it's goofy the whole time, and then it has this very, very somber, at least in my opinion, ending. I think maybe it could be, you can see some campiness because it looks kind of goofy.
Right.
He looks kind of goofy. I mean, he almost looks like the Grinch without a face.
Yeah.
But I guess I've never interpreted it that way. The two times I've seen it, it really struck me as a truly somber, dramatic moment to me.
Yeah.
But for some reason, it fits.
Yeah,
and
agree.
it works. I also, again, I love the fade out where the plant's taking over the highway on its way to Boston. I think Boston's on the sign, or something like that. Yeah, cool.
Yeah,
it's fun.
Oh yeah, I loved that. And then segment 3, I thought I had something for that.
Yeah.
For spoilers, which one is segment 3?
That's Tide You Over.
Yes, something to tide you over. Yes.
Yeah.
Just the bonkers and elaborateness of it is just so satisfying.
Totally.
And it also, because it ends with them coming back and going after the man,
Right.
Leslie Nielsen, and that I liked because while yes, okay, so the lonesome death of Jordy Verrill does have that somber ending that maybe doesn't necessarily fit the tone of the movie itself and every other segment. But had they not come back at something to tide you over, had they not come back to dole out their own vengeance to him, I feel like that would have been an even less fitting and fitting tonal ending for the movie, like the segment. Because I feel like if he just wins and there's no comeuppance for him or anything, that would have probably been more distracting than the somber ending of Jordy Verrill.
Yeah.
So I'm really glad that they did that, and of course the makeup effects, the design, the effects of it is just so cool.
Totally.
Yeah.
Love it. Yeah. There was something I was going to say.
You want to go to the beach and dig a hole?
Right. No. This is like a stupid, a thought I had watching this. I had a thought of almost like a Family Guy cutaway scene where Leslie Nielsen is going to the electronics store 3 times to buy the same TV in the span of a week because he sets up the TV.
Oh yeah.
And it gets ruined because the tide comes in. I don't know. It just made me think of.
Oh, that's great. Having to redo it.
The salesman's like, "Hey, weren't you just here buying this TV yesterday?" He's like, "Oh yeah, I dropped it when I was bringing it in," or something like that.
Or he brings one back and he's like, "I need to return this."
It's covered in seaweed and shit.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know why that just popped into my head when I was watching it this time.
That's great. I love that.
Dude, you just bought a whole TV and you're just gonna literally let the tide ruin it.
Right.
Which they show it it shorts out and everything. It's funny.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, the threat of death from that is super creepy.
Totally.
Super creepy.
Yeah. But I also love the idea that as Ted Danson's dying, he's being forced to watch his lover die on the television. That's just cruel and cruel justice, and it's an aspect I like of it. But
remind me never to piss you off.
TVs are cheap now.
Right.
Much more affordable. I can go buy 4 of them at Costco for $100.
Nice.
Not really, but yeah.
Oh, jeez. Yeah. So that was really cool.
Yep.
Then the next segment, the crate. What do you want to say in spoilers about the crate?
Again, super cool ending. How they, it's just kind of classic. Dump it into the water and it breaks open and escapes. I just love the open-ended thing.
Yeah.
Really
I was gonna say it reminds me a little bit of a certain early Stephen King adaptation, but you haven't seen it, I don't think, so I'm not going to say it.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, and a cool frame. The creature's eyes.
Yes.
That's just a fun visual.
Very, very cool.
Yeah.
It makes me want to check out Silver Bullet and Cycle of the Werewolf.
Okay.
Just because of the kind of wolf aspect of it.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, so that was a cool one. I don't really have anything for spoilers. I don't really have anything for spoilers for any of this.
Yeah.
I was debating us even doing a spoiler section.
Yeah, we probably could have gone either way.
Yeah. But to round us out, how did you feel about spoilers for They're Creeping Up on You?
So, in my opinion, it's a little ambiguous whether or not the bugs were actually there or not.
That's interesting. I didn't really consider it as being like a trick of the mind or anything.
Yeah.
I thought I only interpreted it as pretty straightforward. And
okay.
I think that's because I was terrified at the prospect of it. I just kind of I think I was so wrapped up in the yuckiness of it that I was just so distracted from distracted too hard about it.
Right.
But that final image with him covered and it
bursting open.
Yes. Just
So you think it's blatant that he was hallucinating?
Oh no. I think that they were real.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I don't know why. I don't know what
See, I think if it's one way, it's blatant that he was hallucinating.
Okay.
Strictly because of the maintenance guy.
Oh, yeah.
Just his attitude. He's like, right, you got a bug problem. I know.
Okay.
Because I think it's implying that he calls them all the time for bug issues and they show up and there's no bugs.
Gotcha. Honestly, I think you might be right.
Yeah.
But I was just so distracted by the yuckiness that,
right.
Yeah.
But again, I love the two visuals of the clean room that he has that he eventually kind of retreats to.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a visual where it's literally like 2 feet deep cockroaches.
Yes. Oh my God.
But then you have the other scene where it's showing him just dead on the bed and there's no bugs at all.
Oh yeah.
And then it goes to the scene where he bursts open with them and it's like just the back and forth is just kind of fun.
Yeah. Now that you're saying that, yeah, it was definitely it was definitely in his head.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, by the way, if you ever want to get any information out of me through torturous means,
don't share that information.
I mean, I'm saying like, don't do it, but like, tell me that you're going to, and I'll like be like, hey,
right.
Here, it's not worth it.
Yeah.
Here.
Right.
This is Tiny's address. This is his work schedule.
Same here. I would totally.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
I would totally break.
Yep. All right, well, I think that's it for Creepshow.
Yeah. Well, and then there's also the end with Billy with the
okay.
voodoo doll.
Right.
Which is great.
Oh, yeah. Classic.
Yeah.
Just, I mean, yeah.
Even the setup where it's the garbage men are like, ooh, look, a voodoo doll. It's like, oh, somebody already sent off for that one.
Right.
It's so fucking great.
It's so great.
Yeah.
So awesome.
Just love it.
And just the look of glee on Joe Hill's face when he's playing Billy is just so
ridiculous.
great.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. So that's Creepshow. How, like, overall, like, is this something that did your enjoyment of Creepshow improve over your memory of how it was the first time you saw it? Or
Totally.
Okay.
Totally. Because
nice.
again, I think I was in the mindset of a douchey teenager and like,
oh yeah,
well, it's campy, so I don't really like it that much.
Right.
But in reality, like, dude, just sit back and have a good time.
This is not Kubrickian,
right?
Okay,
it's not Seven Samurai.
Yes.
But yeah, I guess my attitudes have changed so much in regard to that. Like,
oh yeah,
I'm so much more experience based now, and it's just a fun ass experience to watch this movie.
Oh, absolutely.
It makes me want to watch it, like for watch it again in the future for Shocktober. And
that was going to be my next question.
Yeah.
If this is something that you'll be revisiting now that you've kind of watched it with a new lens.
Yeah. I gave it 3 stars on Letterboxd, but I'm thinking I'd probably bump it up to 4.
Nice.
I don't know why. Again, maybe I'm just guarding my image of like, well, it's campy, so I can't give it too many stars. Bullshit.
Oh yeah, that's interesting.
Bullshit. I think it's a 4-star movie.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yep.
You heard it here first, guys. Tiny
You did.
says Creepshow is a 4-star movie.
That's your scoop.
Yes.
Yeah.
And also, I rated it 4 stars.
Sweet.
So, yeah.
Sweet.
Yep. All right, well, that will do it for this episode of Tower Junkies. Once again, you can find us on, everywhere. Tower Junkies Pod on the social medias. Also, check out Patreon at patreon.com/obsessiveviewer for tons of extra bonus content. And Tiny, do you have any parting thoughts for this episode of the Tower Junkies podcast?
Where's my cake?
Oh, nice. Where's my cake? Yeah. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for listening. And long days and pleasant nights.
And may you have twice the number.
And now, here's a short clip from our Patreon exclusive RSS feed. To hear the full clip and more exclusive Patreon content, go to patreon.com/obsessiveviewer and become a patron at the minimum rate of $1 per month. Thank you and enjoy. And it also kind of just introduces us to Preacher's Corners and, like the plot's description said, the kind of prejudice of the town against the Boone family name. And what this episode does, what the show does, this pilot episode does, is it demonstrates a really good handle of giving us just a little bit of information and kind of like whetting our appetite for it. And there's also some really good horror elements on this, so I'll talk about that in a bit. But overall, this is a pretty good introduction to the story. Now, it's very much a departure from the short story, obviously. I mean, a short story, like you can only do so much with it. But it's interesting that the show has given Charles Boone, his children there, and also introduced other characters like was it Rebecca Morgan? I just said it. I literally just said it. Yes, Rebecca Morgan.
Tower Junkies is edited and produced by Matt Hurt and presented by ObsessiveViewer.com. For a full archive of our episodes, go to towerjunkiespod.com/archive. You can also like our Facebook page at facebook.com/towerjunkiespod and follow us on Twitter at towerjunkiespod. If you enjoy the show, please take a couple minutes to leave us a rating and a quick review on Apple Podcasts. This is the easiest way to support what we do, and all it costs is just a little bit of your time. If you'd like to donate to the podcast, you can make a PayPal donation at towerjunkiespod.com/donate or support us on Patreon for recurring donations and access to commentary tracks and B-roll audio recorded exclusively for patrons at patreon.com/obsessiveviewer. Every donation goes toward paying the fees to keep the podcast running and is greatly appreciated. For official Obsessive Viewer merch, including shirts, mugs, phone cases, and more, visit our TeePublic store. You can find a link to the store in the show notes of this episode and at obsessiveviewer.com/donate. Or you can simply search for Obsessive Viewer at tpublic.com. For information about our annual live event showcasing short horror films from local filmmakers, check out shocktoberinirvington.com. And for an archive of all our events, as well as news about potential future events, head over to obsessiveviewer.com/live. For more podcast content, you can find our flagship movie and TV review and discussion show, The Obsessive Viewer Podcast, at obsessiveviewer.com and on Twitter at obsessiveviewer. You can also find Anthology, Matt's solo podcast covering The Twilight Zone, and other classic and contemporary science fiction anthology TV shows at anthologypod.com and OV Anthology Pod on Twitter. And finally, check out The Secular Perspective, Tiny's side project podcast, which tackles current events and life's big questions from the perspective of secular hosts Chad and Amanda at thesecularperspective.com. Music for the podcast is provided with permission from Fingers T on YouTube. Additional bumper music is provided courtesy of As Good As It Gets, which can be found at facebook.com/asgoodasitgetsband. Thank you so much for listening. Long days and pleasant nights.
Kitty!